Hello, it's Reija and welcome to another video. Today I thought that I would do something a little bit different and do an art wrap-up. So in the last few months I've really gotten back into the swing of drawing and trying to develop some sort of artistic skill or something and trying to get better at composition, anatomy, colors, shadows, all of that, basically trying to improve upon my technique. And to do that, you really need to practice. So I thought that I would start doing these art wrap-up videos and showcase what I have been able to accomplish, what I have been able to finish, and sort of go over my thought process behind the work and the materials used, etc. So without further ado, time to crack into my first ever art wrap-up. So I have this little stack of artwork that I'm going to go over, starting with this piece right here. I finished this around the transition between July and August, just over the Conzealand Virtual Worldcon, and this basically was my attempt to master watercolors. I bought myself a set of watercolors in April, and this is when I finally started to work on how to use them, and I decided to do this sort of folklore mythological piece. So this is a sort of Art Nouveau Alphonse Mucha inspired take on the goddess of the forest, Mielikki, who is basically a sort of Artemis type of figure in Finnish mythology, but she is more like a matronly, motherly type of figure. She is also thought to be the mother of bears and the creator of bears, so that's why I decided to picture her and draw her with a bear. And basically she was the goddess people would pray to when they entered forests and they would go foraging and stuff. So yeah, I basically used watercolors and then some Copic markers for like little details like the lining around her eyes and mouth, and also some of the lines across the bear's eyes have been done with like ink pencils. So yeah, that's the first one. The second piece that I did was full-on watercolor. The only thing that's not watercolor is the border, which is just black India ink. And this is a piece I call Foxfires. In Finnish and Sami mythology, the idea of the Aurora Borealis is that when a fox jumps around in the snow and swishes snow around with its tail, that's how the Aurora Borealis come to be. So that's why they're also called, in Finnish, they're called revontulet, which is translates directly into foxfires. So I wanted to do this sort of snow globe motif with the little fox going on in wintry landscape, and then, you know, the little fox paw prints and this kind of kitschy, you know those types of snow globes where the base of the snow globe is like ceramic and full of little details and stuff. I wanted to kind of mimic that. So this is not actually my favorite piece. I still need to put this in my print shop, but I am somewhat happy with how it turned out, and I am especially happy that I tried to do new things. Then some fan art. This is a sketch I did of Sokka from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I wanted to picture him as a sort of adult, and I tried to paint him using watercolors. And I was trying out this new paper, which is for sort of mixed media techniques. So the paper weight and grain suggested that it would work for watercolors, but when I tried to paint Sokka, I noticed that I wasn't getting enough pigment out of my watercolors. It just sort of seeped into the paper and just vanished. So I was building color, his skin tone and his hair and even the clothes. I was building color for minutes on end, and I spent about an hour just painting this, and then I gave up because the paper is such shit quality that even though I was working with very good watercolors, the paper was just sucking every bit of pigment into it and just, yeah. So I am happy with the overall look of his face, but I didn't even put this up anywhere because I wasn't very happy with how his face turned out color-wise, because I wanted to have some more oomph and some more depth and some more substance in the color, but it just wasn't working out with this paper. And then this is a picture that I drew just testing out some technique for my Copic markers, and also just wanting to see if I could draw a male character anymore, because, fun fact, I used to draw male characters almost exclusively, like I never drew women, and that sort of got turned around a few years ago, and now I draw almost exclusively women, so I wanted to sort of draw this guy and see if I still can make a recognizably masculine looking guy. So yeah, so I made this sort of elf Gopnik looking dude who probably listens to thrash metal, is into MySpace and sad that it closed down, and also maybe vapes. That's the general mood that I get from this picture. And I did this basically entirely in Copic markers. And then I went back to watercolors again, and also this was my attempt at coming up with my own sort of typeset and font. I've been watching Farscape with Rachel from Kalanadi, and this quote, "I am unimpressed by your masculine reveries," is from, I think, episode 14 of season 1. And it was so fun and great that I decided that I needed to paint it, and I actually put a t-shirt listing on Teespring, and I will put the link to that shop down in the description if you want to go check it out, because I have merch available from this quote. And yeah, so I'm actually really proud of how this turned out, and I am excited to try and explore further options of what I can do with this type of like inspirational quotes and quotes from series and sort of like fandomy type of art stuff, and maybe turn it into like mugs and tote bags and stuff. So yeah. And then this one is the Eye of the Creator, and fun fact, I actually drew this as a gift for my partner. It's basically like the Eye of Chaos, the Eye of like the cosmic energy and stuff, and I am actually super proud of how this turned out. It's not super symmetrical or whatever, but I like how the eye turned out. I spent ages just trying to build depth and trying to get the dimensions of the eye to be as realistic as possible. And the idea is that it's kind of a tear in reality. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out. And then we're getting into my two favorite pieces that I've done recently. So this first one is a sort of like a pin-up, and I wanted to experiment with just like composition and color and drawing something kind of sexy, because I've heard complaints from some people that I don't draw beautiful people, essentially, that I don't draw sexy characters. So I wanted to challenge myself to see if I could draw something that is sexy. And I really like how this turned out. If I would change anything, I would make sure that this window on the background is like fully symmetrical, because I freehanded it and it sort of shows. It's a bit wonky. But other than that, I'm actually quite proud with how this came out. And this is one of my favorite works that I've done in a long time. And the final work that I would showcase here is the Daughters of Death that I finished just at the tail end of last month in September. So this is my take on the 3 aspects of death in Finnish mythology. So you have the sort of goddess of disease, and you have the goddess of sort of like childbirth and sort of like traumatic death, and then you have the goddess of silent death. And these 3 goddesses are essentially daughters of the god of death, who like is basically a sort of Hades figure. And I just wanted to draw them and see how I could interpret them. And basically I wanted to see if I could draw them as they appear in my head. So sometimes I have this huge trouble that whenever I draw, the picture that I get out of my head doesn't look exactly what I imagined it would. So I'm desperately trying to get my technique to work in a way that I can actually put onto paper what I imagine in my mind's eye. And this swan and these flowers in the background are actually a reference to a painting by Akseli Gallen-Kallela, who is one of my favorite artists, and also the painting is one of my favorites. So this is a little bit of a homage, a reference to that. So and this one I also did almost exclusively with Copic markers. And here I used black ink and white gel pen. And there you have it. These are all of the drawings that I managed to complete during the months of July, August and September. So this is 3 months worth of work. And I hope you enjoyed this type of video. Tell me in the comments which drawing is your favorite. And would you be interested in seeing further videos like this? Tell me in the comments. And if you got this far, leave like a paintbrush or like a paint palette emoji down in the description so I know that you are here. And I will see you in another video very soon. Bye bye!